Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esperanza Leon, and I am delighted to welcome you to our fourth and final Insider-Outsider talk. And today we are with Oscar Molina and our good friend MAGO, who has been conducting this wonderful series of talks with artists that are sort of under the radar, but should not be, or kind of aren't. Let's talk about that. So I'm going to give it away to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Longhouse, Esperanza, Carrie, Jason, for having us here. It's such a beautiful Sunday to be together. Thank you, folks, for making it out. Thank you, Oscar, for joining us. Oscar and I have a relationship, so I kind of know this guy a little bit. But Oscar has a very interesting story, and his story influences his artwork. And he's able to capture silhouettes from a journey he took at a very young age, crossing the Arizona desert, to then building a life here and building his skills as a businessman and a mason, to have a very respectful company. Oscar also is a very big community member and advocate, as he sits on the board of the Southampton Hospital Foundation, which also helps build relationships for folks from our community to feel comfortable to receive the services they need. Oscar has also built a very successful gallery, which he offers a platform to artists, just as we're doing today, to give in voice and platform to some artists that might not have the voice that they would have if it wasn't for galleries like Oscar's. But today we're going to get to know a little bit more about Oscar, and I wanted to start off with, could you bring us back to the time that you lived in El Salvador and that you were growing up?
Sure.
Young
Thank you
Oscar.
for that. Well, thank you, Enrique. Thank you, Esperanza, Jason, and Carrie, and the whole team that puts together these programs. I think that this is what makes our community enhance and enriches each one of us, and as a result, I think our community as a whole. Going back to my childhood, it was a wonderful experience. I lived in the mountains for about age 12, 13, before the war in El Salvador that tore apart basically the entire country. We were moving from a place that is called Morazan, which was the epicenter of the war, really. That's where everything started. We moved for, I will say, 2 months, after we left the town where we grew up, we were born. Went to Morazan. From there we went to the coast, and from there we become fishermen, and from there we decided that this was the route to survive. It was just to search for a better country to live on. So as a young kid, I'd good memories, good family. I can say that we probably didn't had like a luxury life, but we had everything we needed as far as a family, and as a youngster growing in the mountains, everything we needed was there. So very happy, a lot of heavy rain and beautiful green mountains. Those are good memories. And then, also remembering holidays like Christmas was a thing that I expected with greatness, because it was time for me to create with my mother. We put together this little Christmas, what did you call the
ornaments?
Yes,
that go around the tree.
Around the tree, but
okay.
we created an entire system around. I'm a Catholic, so my whole family has been very deep rooted into the Catholic Church. So for her, it was a big thing. Christmas time.
I see. You're speaking about the El Nacimiento.
El Nacimiento. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we
So
get
this-
some translation here? Nativity.
Nativity, right?
Sorry, guys.
So that was.
We're gonna do a little Spanglish up here too.
So I grew up doing those things, and for me, every year was like, it was so long because we had very little to do. So during the day, we had all the activities with the farm, growing the corn and coffee bean and sugar cane. That's what we had. All those memories were like disappeared right after the war. Now it was survival mode. At age 16, we were in survival mode. I remember my father hiding during the night with my older brothers. I'm one of 8 brothers, one sister in my family, and she's basically the youngest. So my father will sleep outside the house with all the older kids, and he will hide with them. For it was either the guerrilla or the military who will capture these youngsters, give them a gun, and just show them how to shoot. And the devastating part of that was that a lot of my family basically died in that war. That was one of the reasons that my father said, we have to get out of here. And one day, overnight, just like that, we were out of there. Everything we had was left behind. We basically carry on with whatever we were wearing of the house. And that's how my journey began. So I migrated basically from Ocotillo, to Morazan, which was a period of about 2 months, living on a very small space, the whole family. And from there, we took on to live for like basically 5 years in the shores of La Union, which is now by the water, Golfo de Fonseca is what's called.
It was safer there.
It was
At the
a part of the country that it wasn't really affected that bad because basically it's surrounded by water. There's no mountains there. And where we were was basically, that's where all the bad guys will actually go there and hide, which were not the bad guys. It was actually the campesinos, the people that fed up with the government and basically with the fact that they were just working. My father was one of those that they just worked their entire lives trying to make a living with the cornfields. And the problem was that the government will actually give them
subsidies.
No, they will banks will lend you money against your deeds of your farms. And when good times came on for us to kind of like harvest the good
hard
work, the prices of our products will actually go down to the ground. So they had to sell to pay the bills. And when we had nothing to actually pay back with, they will come after your land. So, and it will give...
It was a little bit rigged.
It was, and I think that's why the campesinos really got fed up to the point where there was no food. There was basically the communities were just completely out of balance. So there was like just work, and when the money or the good days were coming, they will not share that wealth with the campesinos. So basically, the campesino will be just the one making the product, but never see the daylight. Let's put it that way. So that was the revolution that started the war in El Salvador, based on the inequality, and people fought for that. And 75,000 people died in that war, and they were my family included. So a lot of my my mother's side, I will say that probably 15 of the members closer to me died basically in that particular area where we were. So.
How was that being a young person surrounded by, so much death and aggression? We become accustomed to violence. We become accustomed to almost anything. If you see that every day as a young child, for you you don't see anything different. So you can't really judge how other communities are not affected, and you will think that the rest of the world is like that. Right.
So if you see struggles, families over there, and your struggle, and you believe that the rest of the world is in the same category as you are. Because, back in the days, there were no cell phones, there were no well, it was television, but
no
the television
social media.
there was no social media. So the only news you got was basically if you went to the nearby city and you saw that the army was actually there, or they were fighting in the capital, and the news came only for the people that bought the newspaper at that time in the nearby cities. We there in the mountains never heard a noise.
Wow.
But it did came to us very hard, because when they got there, it was really the end of basically the epic center of the war.
Wow.
And seeing people being pulled from the buses as a child coming from school, going home, the army would take these guys out of the buses, and because they were campesinos and they were like scared to talk about things, the army will say you are a guerrillero, so they will put you over there against the wall and they will shoot them all.
Wow.
So that was in a child's mind. I think that if you think that is normal, and you become numb to what emotional feelings are, seeing somebody getting hurt or losing their life, so you starting to believe that that's normal in society, but this is only a little spot in the world that is happening. That's one of the concerns, that I always think that the wars are really not bringing anything good to any of society around the world.
Well, I can't imagine after having that experience, any violence of
Right.
that nature would resonate. Now, that's interesting to me, because I think that's the first time we've been together that you've shared in depth some of the in and outs of what was happening in your surroundings in that way. But what it makes me feel like is connect to your work even more in the sense of the depth of emotion that your artwork really has. I could only imagine that loss and all those feelings, are in your work, right? Because most of the time that I've talked to you, we've talked about mostly just the journey of crossing over,
Yes,
and stuff like that. But
right.
This kind of like precedes that, and it's like the setup for almost in your work as well, right?
Right. So when I started making this body
Children
of
of the
work,
World, right.
Children of the World, was thinking of how do I express myself through the colors and artworks of my experiences. So I started with paintings first, and it was just basically bringing up these compositions of very simple formats. But I started seeing that more as a message, and something that I can work with, and something that I can take from this particular painting to a 3D model. I was in construction for the longest time, and I think that gave me enough practice to now bring these images from the canvas to a real
Sculpture,
three-dimensional
theme,
yes.
platform.
So when I paint, and when I paint, I do have let's say that my emotions in accordance. And when I'm sculpt, I'm actually in the physical world with the sculpture, and I try to eliminate noise and basically come into my inner reality in a way that putting together years of experience in the concrete and steel, and the handwork of concrete, and all these emotions, So basically, when I do the sculptures, I figure seeing the group of people in front of me and seeing their physical body, which I cannot tell you if they were tall, skinny, because of shadows. Not seeing their faces, but understanding that they also have a journey just like I do. And understanding their emotions, because we are moving by emotions, whether they were forced by a war, or they were seeking for the happiness, something, whatever these people were searching. In my group of over 200, they had a goal, and we as a group going across the Arizona desert had a goal in mind, and it was cross that border. And for me, it was I had my older brother with me at that point, but when we came to cross the border, we were separated. So it was a groups of 10 is how we crossed that border. I was lucky to know how to swim. Some people just didn't know how to swim. And that was the scary part, because that's a long stretch that you had to go and swim. And there is where a lot of people don't make it. And they disappear through the river. So it's all these things that I feel that when I sculpt, I create these little faces in memory of the people that I remember seeing, but not precisely. So I give them their own weight of interpretations and my skills, I guess. Just trying to put
pay
them
respect
together.
to them as a
Basically,
soul.
right? And correct. And when I see that one person that represents millions of persons, so these little faces are not just the ones that came across with me in this journey. It's the face of millions of people that are daily taking that journey to, in their lives for a better tomorrow. So that's how I create the pieces.
Children of the World, thank you for joining us all. Hi, Graby. We had the pleasure and the honor to be invited to see these pieces travel through the grounds here at Longhouse, through the 16 acres, which was really special and something that I feel that was kind of in your career as an artist or as a creator and a person. How did it feel to finally have those emotions exposed on a platform like this, where you got to see your artwork actually right next to some artworks that were physically built by his construction company years earlier? How did it feel to be invited by Longhouse and have a platform to recognize your work, your journey, and these many people that you're discussing, that you're honoring with this work?
I feel that places like Longhouse are wonderful places where people can have these wonderful experiences. And when I came here, we'll say maybe 10, 15 years ago, more or less, I was asked to build one of the last compositions by Solowitz, which is the one at the very end over there. So it was a very intensive project. But when I looked at it, I went to sleep that night and I was reading that drawing, because it seemed to be very simple. It's just blocks, you would think, and it's just a simple construction. But it's over 67 layers of blocks. So, and they all have numbers. And basically, what I was looking at each drawing being different. It was foundation first, steel, reinforced. Then each pin will have to go through a certain height of certain piers. So it was not only seeing the physical part of this construction, but the emotion of being able to build a piece of art. I thought it was a wonderful thing for me to get that in, to say that I was going to have that experience. And then last year, it was an honor for me to travel, the first composition to travel along the 16 acres of property here, and going meeting all these amazing artists in this garden, including Huawei, right?
Yeah.
And all of the other great artists. But being in front of, next to the piece that I built 15 years ago, was a very emotional moment, because I never thought I was going to be putting them right next to it.
And now you've returned to El Salvador just this year. Oscar had his national exhibition there at the museum in El Salvador. So to return to El Salvador, and you're also working on some projects with children and setting up some sort of foundation of your own. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
So through the years of working in El Salvador, I was asked to do a project for the government, and I was invited to create this composition along one of the greatest lakes of El Salvador. And it's just this beautiful natural crater of it's called Laguna.
Yeah.
And so I get it, and I said, sure, of course I'm going to go back home and do this. So when I did that, I was introduced to one of the museum directors, which it's the one museum director that has control over all of the museums in El Salvador. So it's 4 major museums there. One that was specifically built for international artists called Martes. It's a beautiful museum, very beautifully done, and the compositions there are amazing. So she is the director at this point on that museum, and I said to her, what are the chances of me doing an exhibition in El Salvador? So she says to me 2 years ago, it's a long line of people waiting for that. So I said, okay, I put myself in the line, in the list, and you let me know. So they had a show there. Salvador Dali was first, and then they had several other shows in line, and then I was next. So that happened last year. I had.
Did you build the pieces there? Did you
I
have
did,
them?
so
oh, you did.
My last year, so I went to El Salvador and spent 3 months over there building the entire composition for the museum. So I did 35 pieces of sculptures, and I did the rest paintings, and it was very intense. I was working during the day. It was very little work because humidity and the heat was extremely brutal. So I will get up very early, and I will go to work like around 6 o'clock, and I will go up to 11:30 sometimes at night. It's much cooler. So I will have a flashlight here working on my pieces.
Oh, really?
But it was much cooler.
Leave it to
so
an
I took
artist to figure it out.
Took a lot of coffee, a lot of wine sometimes, but it was great. So by the time I was said and done, so the director came to the house and looked at the works, and we selected the pieces that we wanted to show. That was a great moment too. You know, she says, it looks good, I like it, and we're going forward with it. So that was an amazing experience. Then back home, while I'm building the sculptures, I realized that the country is going through this huge transformation, and they created these cubes, is what they call it. They very simple squares, and it's basically the first floor is glass, the second floor, half of the building is glass, and it's completely equipped to in first technology for youngsters to go after school to meet here, and there is a group of teachers there in different venues, computers, arts, and arts I mean painting, sculpting, music,
Fine art, yep.
Fine arts, dancing,
Oh, okay.
and then the computer science.
All
it goes
of it.
from the math and everything else. So these cubes are completely set up, and I was amazed to see how many kids went to
Just
this
through the
place.
city or
Through the city, through the government.
Oh,
So-
fabulous.
so the
And these are
government-
after-school programs that are just free to the
Everything,
folks
yep,
that are,
yep.
wow.
So what
wow,
they
wow.
did is that if some of you remember El Salvador 5, 7, 10 years ago, it was the capital, the
Crime.
moral capital of the world. And when the new president came 5 years ago, completely changed the structure of the country. It took over power and transformed the country from being the most violent country in the world to being the safest in the Western Hemisphere in 5 years. And so that was an amazing jump, and this is what happened. So he created these groups to actually help the youngsters at this very early stage in life to get involved with all types of art, computers, and anything that can help the kids really get a head start in non-violence space. And that really brought me in to talk to one of the directors. So near my house is one of these cubes, and I said to her, what can we do to help build this and make it happen? And she says, well, The government did put the cube here. We have everything up to speed, but we do need eventually we do need things for the kids once they start class. So I said, what do you need? And all the things, basic things for paintings and canvas and all of those things, right? I only knew that San Salvador had all this very large canvas that I buy, but then I realized through the cube that they have another source nearby. So I said, just go there and figure it out how much you need and let me know. So I made in my, I compromised myself to take on and helping these kids. Every year we have a group of 35 kids starting. They actually started last Saturday, was the first class of this year, and they go until April next year. And so we start a class every 2 months. And
what is it, a painting class?
Painting class.
And are you teaching them or?
No. I have a
help
gentleman.
with the curriculum?
Yes, I help with what they need as far as equipment is concerned, paint and all of that, materials. And I also pay for the teacher. So there's
great.
a teacher that we have. When I go there and I work, he works with me, and I know how he is.
He's your
I know that.
assistant there.
And he has this wonderful way to paint in big scale, and also a muralist. Very young, very happy to help as well. So the director and I kind of like made a deal that we are going to push hard on getting these kids,
Oscar,
promoted.
you're like a beam of light. I mean, that's why I like hanging out with you and I like talking to you like we're doing now. I feel like, you've been through so much in your life, but you really kept such a positive vibe about everything, and what an outlook to everything, to all the way you create your artwork, the way you're sharing it with children, and you do those programs. We did them here last year. We had some of the oldest students come by and work with Oscar. So you have a very generous heart, and you have a big component of giving back. And your message seems to be very lofty, like it's a message that you want the world to know with children of the world. What would you like the viewers to take from when they encounter your sculptures and your works?
I feel that the idea of seeing these compositions out there, when you meet them, just go around them, walk around them and see them. Each one of those pieces represents, in some form, one of us. It could be our grandfather, it could be our uncles, it could be somebody in our family that is actually going through the same transformation. Enjoy them. I mean, I got to tell you something. When I started this composition, the first composition I did, I made them very rough, like rough. I have pictures of that.
The texture of
The
them?
texture, really rough, because I wanted the atmosphere, the dust, the rain, and everything to stick to it, and all this to make them organic. But then when I went over there and tried to move them, they ripped my skin off. So I got all bruises and all. So I said, I have to make them a little more friendly. And that's what I did. So it took me a while. It only took me one time to realize that it was not going to work out.
No, but you got it out of your.
I got it out of it. Because I did want
So you got all your prickliness out, and now we
Yes.
have all this wonderful work to enjoy from you. I'm going to open up the conversation here to our guests that have joined us. Is that okay with you?
Sure, yeah.
Does anyone have a question for Oscar?
So Oscar, you said I'm not sure what you mean by a cube.
Cube is a technological cube. There is a professional term for it. I just forget about it. So a cube is a square. Let's say it's 40 by 40 by 40 feet high. It's basically just.
It's a safe space for the kids to go in and learn technology.
It's a building, I know that, but
Yeah.
so that's how big it is.
Yeah, it is an incubator for the young minds to go there and, let's say, rehab in case they had, a rough life in the past.
Oh.
We have kids from 2.5 years to 15 years right now. And we are concerned that changing the mind of these kids right now in a very early stage, now that the country has made this change, is important. And we have to give them all the tools they need to make this change. I believe that in 5 years you can definitely erase some of the worst images of life-threatening experiences. Right there where we are, that cube was built there for one reason. It was because that part of it, out of the country, was one of the worst in maras, meaning the gangsters. So they had control of that entire area. And for you to go there was like, I don't know how I can put this, but...
super dangerous.
Super dangerous. So... now
you wouldn't.
And that was a dangerous... It was dangerous everywhere. But that was one of the spots where more of these gang members were. And the reason why is we are next to two different countries, Honduras and Nicaragua. Basically, if I take a boat off that house, I will be in Honduras in 35 minutes. And I'm off the border. So basically, they will snuggle drugs, right?
Yeah.
There in 30 minutes. They will be off the radars. And then if they go straight out in an hour, and basically if you have high-speed boats, you can be there in 45 minutes in Nicaragua. So the national borders over there is right there. So it's very easy for them to escape. And that's why that place was possessed by them. When the government took power, and the first thing they did was cleaning up the country. First it was drums. The drums were basically everywhere, and then it was right at the borders there. They put one of the coast guards, so they started blocking all these passages. And then the next thing was they started cleaning up. So the army came basically and started collecting all these gang members. And we're getting off the track here on the politics side, but I feel that the things that have happened in that country, it's an unbelievable change, and I think that I feel great and happy that I'm also part of
the change.
Mm-hmm. And I want to be part of that regeneration of kids that I think that has to have. They deserve a better chance. Let's put it that way, than the lives that we have lived in the past. There, these kids had no other choices other than just live in danger, try to survive, and if anybody had a chance to squeeze out of the country without being seen, they will do that. And in today's day, basically the schools are putting all their effort keeping these kids. The country wants to keep young minds sharp and up to speed, so they build in schools for engineering schools, and they put in all this effort to make an investment to keep youngsters there.
That's
and that is I think that is a wonderful thing. So El Salvador is not a really big country. It's 7.5 right now. It's 6.5 million people. It's not much. And think about it, that 50% of that are adults. 25% of that is basically kids between 5 to 15 years old. So they're still in school, and we have a good shot of keeping these young minds busy and in a healthy environment. And I feel happy that I can help. So
wonderful.
That's how we do it.
This is staying on the personal side. Is what's happened to your brothers, sister, parents?
We all survive. We all
You're
here.
all here?
My father. Thank you. We all got here. Yes, it took me 25 years basically to get my green card. But I did it, and then all my other family did. We survived, basically. That was one of my parents' goals, was to get everybody out
and
safe.
thrived.
Yeah. So my father passed away 3 years ago. My mother's still alive, and she keeps telling us, all these great stories. Now she tells us more stories, and it's one of those things that I think people hide a lot of the really horrible stories, because I guess those are mind-blowing when they tell you these things, So, but here we are, and yes.
Yes.
So I do have a question, but before that, I just wanted to thank you for your courage in sharing the story, which it's been many years, but it must still be painful in many ways. And inspirational
Thank you.
at the same time. in a moment where immigration is
Right.
so polemic, for people to see why people leave their homes, what they go through, the risks that they put themselves or their children, for a better life is really important to hear. But also what you've done with that and the importance of immigrants coming to our country, and you have clearly become a success and contributed so positively to our country. And in an aging population where we really need talent and young minds coming in, it's really important. And so thank you for sharing that and for being an inspiration. How would you say that art has that been therapeutic for you? Has that been a healing process? Or is that something that was just in your genes and it came out?
We didn't finish the story about the little clay things. I don't know. I feel that it's been, since I came here in '89, I was always curious, and I was always trying to get my time not just go by. I was always trying to make something and do something with, spare time. Art, I think every one of us is an artist in different shapes and different forms, and some paint, some of us do sculpting, some are amazing cooks, and I think that everything that we see is a talent, and it could be also therapeutical, anything we do. I enjoy gardening, trees, anything that gives a life is something that inspires me. And for me, bringing this extra layer of what's in my mind and bringing it into a reality is just practicing, I think, and it's enjoyable. Can we help others with that? I think so. I think that we can definitely inspire others, as some other artists have inspired me as well. There's Patton over there, who is an amazing artist, I learned a lot from Patton too. I think that...
You're also lucky to land in the land of artists.
Oh, yes.
Right?
This community.
You made a home, you made a community, and I think that that's part of what makes these reunions and these talks so special here at Longhouse, that we get to really learn so much from the artists that participate, designers, architects, so many different disciplines that create that beautiful intersection, art, design, and living with them. But something with such a strong message that you have, and your level of being so humble about sharing this, and you are an exceptional artist, family person, community member, and I do agree with you on the political side of sometimes that people from my community or our community can be painted in just terrible ways. I do feel like Oscar's just such an example of what I know my community to be, a reminder of my father, my brothers, and Esperanza, who's a mentor to me that's in my community here. I just feel like also there's been a shift in some of the organizations and institutions to now have us share our stories on a real level, instead of having others tell our stories, for us to be able to tell our own stories. And that's really what we could all walk away with today, is that this institution has given us the creativity, the inspiration, the platform to share something that could be so difficult, yet at the same time so beautiful. These figures are abstract. They're not only Oscar's story, they're the story of many. This is something that has occurred in the past, is occurring now in our present, can happen in our future due to human rearing. So thank you all for joining us today, and thank you Longhouse so much, and thank you Oscar for sharing. We have some beverages in the back. Please stay around. You guys can ask us any questions and hang out, and of course check out Oscar's installation here as well. Thank you.
Wow, is this the last one?
Yes.
This is the last one. I want to thank, I'm Carrie, I'm the director of Longhouse. It feels like a family. It's like it's so calm. I thought I should get up and just say thank you to you. Thank you, Oscar, for everything.
Thank you
that
for
you've done
having me
for us,
here.
for having your pieces come last May and letting us keep them all this time. Yeah.
They
Did
love
you
it
say,
here.
I missed the beginning because I was getting drinks and things out, but I love when we found out that you made the Solowit sculpture.
Yes.
That your connection to Longhouse is long and deep and
In the ground.
in the ground and so interesting. And you just keep building white sculptures for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the depth of that foundation there, and the dimensions and the amount of steel on that slab.
Wow.
It's what we call a monolithic pour.
A monolithic
Pour is when you have no footing. Like usually a house has 16 inches by 8 inches pour footing all the way around with 2 rebars. That's just to put and sit the wall. The foundation for Solowit sculpture, it's 30 inches thick, 21 feet
Wow.
wide by almost 30 feet wide, long. So, and it's one solid pour.
It's not going
It has
anywhere.
one layer, yes, it's not going anywhere. It has a layer of
The
gravel
Oscar
underneath.
Molina way.
But I did learn that from the best. There was an architect that I admired. George Lynch was his name. He passed away a while back. But what I learned from him when it came to engineering and construction was the most amazing drawings. I was always fascinated by the way he did
You
the
studied that, right? Is
I
that
did
what
went to
happened?
school
I
for
mean,
architecture, yeah.
you, in order to build your company, really, the difference was that you stayed home studying
Yeah.
CAD drawings, right?
Yeah.
So your skills, you're a person that could really hyper focus and deliver the most amazing work. So
Thank you.
thank you, Oscar, again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
Join us
Yes?
back for
I
snacks.
have one.
You have a question? Yep.
yeah.
All right, Beth.
First of all, thank you. I mean, Oscar, your story, your being, your presence is a blessing, and I have to thank you for that, and everything you give. And I think your story is universal, and at this time, I think it's so important for that to carry on. And I just have a question for you from an education standpoint, is that, like, do you see, like, anything that connecting with your home place with here and exchanging and of education
Like the
between-
cubes in Longhouse.
and with Longhouse, like, and like having that.
Well, Esperanza's here. She's the educator.
But I just see like this.
Beth is bringing up an interesting point about the cubes and education, right?
Oh, no, I was thinking
Yeah.
that. And
Oh, thank
also-
you.
So I was, I was also thinking about it in the sense of, like artist therapy,
Right.
which is really, not as therapy, but as a,
A safe space.
yes,
I mean,
really.
to express
and we
yourself.
talked about that so
Having
many
an
times,
opinion.
right?
Right.
That they can actually express themselves, but learn and exchange. I mean, from culture to culture, and also from place to place.
I think that is in today's marketplace again. I think technology is bringing a lot of that.
Exactly.
with us.
Remember that big screen that they put, I guess, what
Right.
was it, in Bryant Park? And then on the other side was somewhere in
Chicago.
Chicago,
Or
Ireland,
Chicago and
Dublin.
Ireland,
Or-
yeah.
yes.
Dublin, yeah.
So we can definitely do something like that where we can exchange in real time a class from that cube and a class from here. So that way the kids can actually take a walk around the garden. And that opens a whole other channel in children's mind when you are capable to see what other people are doing out there. Remember that
I
for
love
me,
that because they're like, they have that openness of being able to accept, and it's like a sweet spot of like, they don't have preconceived notions. So they will embrace it from all sides and from all cultures. And I think
The innocence
that's
of the children.
Yeah.
That I mean, that. I guess that is part of what technology can bring to the table, is that sort of connection. Because if you're able, and I know, like in South America and Latin America, materials and the artists, you really get to know them through their materials.
Right.
And I think that working with what you have could show other kids that have abundance. Like, there's everything for everything. There's a pen, a color, a crayon.
Right.
Meanwhile, if you have a string and a piece of wood, let's see what you could create.
What
Isn't
can you
it true?
create?
Is that right?
Like a poverty of means, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I think the idea of, and I like how that is so pertinent to this place of interlacing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking of how you can weave, interlace.
Right. We're in.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's done.
The idea of, children around the world
Right,
creating
right. Children of the
together.
world.
It's that
Children
of the world.
creating space.
Yeah.
Very good idea. I like that.